Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out I Do Work Here Lady. Story 1. Cops wouldn't let me into my workplace cause we had protesters and thought I was a protester. I do work here, lady. So I work somewhere where we had been having protesters outside, so lately we've had cops posted at the entrance. We usually introduce ourselves to them when they start their shift, and they had just changed shift midday and I had not yet talked to them. So on this day we had no protesters and I go out for a quick minute to take a call. As I am walking back in, the new cop stops me and I'm like, I work here. I'm about to take my ID to show him and realize I left it inside. Cop doesn't believe me and doesn't let me in. Fortunately one of my co-workers sees this from the window and comes out to let the cop know I do indeed work there, and I come on in. Story 2. I'm interviewing you right now. I do work here, lady. I'm a woman, I was in my late 30s at the time. A couple years back. I manage a manufacturing facility, it's a small business with a handful of employees. So we're hiring and I set up appointments on Indeed. It literally said you will be interviewed by me, insert my incredibly feminine female name, so the person I'm scheduled to interview shows up and I take him into my office, which has a big glass window looking into the shipping room. I'm trying to interview this guy, I think he was about 24, and he keeps looking over my shoulder out the window into shipping. So I'm like, is everything okay? He goes, when is the interview starting? I respond, I'm interviewing you right now. He goes, who's that? And points to my very young looking early 20s shipping guy. I respond, that's Chris. Him, well, isn't he going to interview me? Me, once again, I'm interviewing you right now. Followed by thanks for coming and we'll let you know. On his way out he walks over to Chris and asks him something. After he left, I asked Chris, what did he ask you? He wanted to know why he wasn't being interviewed by him. Story 3. Can you buy us some alcohol? I do work here, lady. I work at a hotel as a night receptionist / bartender. Today we had a group of students, 17 to 18 years old, with their teachers staying at the hotel. I was standing outside by front entrance smoking when a couple of girls from their group came to me and asked, can you buy us some alcohol from the bar? I started to laugh. No. Why not? Because I work here. Girls got all flustered and red in the face and run away. Had some other kids try to buy alcohol, and even one 18-year-old, at 18 you can buy and use alcohol in my country. I explained to him that because he is from the group that has many underage kids, I legally can't sell him alcohol, 'cause he could pass it to the kids. Nothing too bad had happened yet, but I still have 6 hours in my night shift with these alcohol-hungry kids. XD, wish me luck. Sorry for my spelling if something was wrong, I'm still learning English. Story 4. Can you hear me now? I do work here, lady. I cashiered at Danger Path for a year. Pretty much every place I've worked I've stocked up on stories about either management, co-workers, customers, or some fun combination of all of the above. This job was especially memorable due to having lost my voice while working here, and it was gone for 2 months. It faded during one of my shifts, until I simply could not force out anything. At the end of the first month, they decided I was too needed to worry about my inability to speak, which, as anyone who buys their own groceries can agree, talking is a good part of the job. Greeting, asking questions, exit greeting, answering questions. Well, I filled out 11 4x6 cards on both sides, and that covered nearly everything I'd need to say to customers without having to write it out fresh each time. Including jokes. One day while I'm still voiceless, I'm working speedy check. A group of 3 20-somethings are next up, each buying their own items separately. No problem. The guy of the group is up first, and he's very busy chatting up the 2 girls with him. So busy, I can't get his attention. Happily, the next order, belonging to one of the girls, has a glass-encased candle. I pick it up and tap the metal part at the end of my belt, drawing his attention. With my handy pack of cards, I inform him that I don't currently have a voice, and point to his total. He rushes to pay. Smiling, I hand him his bags. When I finish selling the next order to one of the girls with him, she promptly states that she is paying attention, and pays up without making me resort to banging on my station. Same happened with the second girl, too. It was pretty funny at the time, in a light-hearted way. Story 5. An English tutor. But I do work here, lady. This is the first job I've ever had. As someone majoring in creative writing, I figured being an English tutor would not only help me socialize more with others but also look good on my application and help me learn how to apply the language on a more technical level. And since I'm a tutor for a science class, I also get to learn about a subject that I know just a tad bit about, so I get to learn with the other students, too. So far, 5 weeks have passed, meaning we're halfway through the fall quarter, and yet I feel like a lot of students don't know what my job is. Take, for example, an incident last week. Because there was an uneven number of students in the class one day, I decided to sit next to a student who didn't have a partner. Because the 2 teaching assistants for the class gave others materials they needed for that day's exercise, skipping me for obvious reasons, the student turned to me immediately and asked, "Are you a student here or?" Trying to be witty with my remark, I replied, "Usually not, but today I am." Because again, this happened during week 4, so everyone should be familiar with the class staff by now, and if not, I post messages to the class every day, each post being signed off with my name. So we went over the project together during the next 30 minutes. Every time he has a question though, rather than asking the English tutor literally sitting right next to him and actively working with him, he asks the other 2 teaching assistants walking around. I was kind of infuriated that I was being ignored, because what's the point of helping students when those same students ignore you, but I also felt he'll eventually learn my role the more I'm being pointed to. Next week, though, there will be mandatory workshops that students have to join, so I'm looking forward to reintroducing myself not only to him but others as well. TLDR 4 weeks into the course, student doesn't realize he's talking to a tutor. Sorry if y'all expected a more exciting outcome, but I'll post an update if he realizes. I definitely think this is a funny incident after the moment. And again, I absolutely do love my job and the students in the class. Edit, added a bit more vital information. Edit 2, okay, y'all. I just woke up and I notice everyone's asking why didn't I tell him right then and there about who I actually am. There are 3 reasons for that. The first reason is that soon, I'll be having mandatory workshops with a handful of other students from the class, so when I go, I'll actually be hitting a couple of birds with a rock when I tell them all my position rather than hitting one bird with one stone. He'll no doubt be there since it's mandatory. Secondly, I already explained earlier, I'm working on socializing more. I know as a tutor it's kinda redundant not having these skills already, but I also thought that, as a teaching member in the class, this incident will teach me how to converse and interact more with others. Which leads me on to the third reason. This incident, and other future incidents, will help me grow and learn how to tackle similar problems. I'm learning here, as are the students, and we're all not perfect. I agree I didn't handle the situation properly, which is why I'll actually reintroduce myself from now on. Should I be a teacher or a professor one day, I'll take a step back and learn from this moment. Story 6. Pooper Scooper. I do work here, lady. Many years ago I was a snarky and largely antisocial teenager. Because of this I never had success in customer service jobs. I still don't for the most part. I was very lucky in high school to work as an in-home pet care provider. I would drive around and visit clients' homes while they were at work or on vacation and take care of their animals and do some light chores. Bringing in mail and trash cans, water the occasional plant. I rarely encountered humans in this job and it was perfect for me. Mostly I took care of dogs. Usually this just included a 30 minutes walk and checking food and water. Some clients had large yards and multiple dogs that allowed me to substitute walks for playtime in the yard. This was the case for two golden retrievers owned by a lesbian couple. Apparently this nice older couple had some issues with vandalism because of their orientation. Nobody ever mentioned this to me, or the situation probably would have been handled differently. It was a beautiful day in the early summer and the dogs were playing together loudly while I used a large dustpan-looking contraption to collect their piles around the backyard. The noise must have caught the attention of the next-door neighbor because suddenly I was being screamed at. Something along the lines of, "You better get out before I call the police." I snapped my head around and yelled, "WTF for?" He continued with, "You're not supposed to be here, pretty bold to be here in the middle of the day." I was so confused and irritated and I responded, "WTF is your problem, dude?" He finally asks the question, "Do you have permission to be here?" To me the scene was obvious. Honestly, I said, "No sir, I just break into people's deadbolt backyards and scoop dog shit for fun. I can't help it. Nobody pays me to do this," I swear with all the attitude of a 16-year-old. He realized how it all looked after that and he explained what had been going on and we both apologized, but sometimes the memory pops in my head and I can't help but laugh at how ridiculous it was. Obviously I worked there. Story 7. Happy birthday to me, I guess, the state of the sub. So some heavy news today. How can I lighten the mood? Music recommendations. It's almost 1 AM here and I'm desperately trying to get this out, so please excuse any formatting mistakes or half-formed thoughts. Recommended listening, World's Smallest Violin by AJR. I was going to give you a bit longer of a rundown of my life story here, but I'll give enough here to explain why it's just the cliff notes. The first thing I want to make clear is that I never asked nor expected to become the head mod of 3 subreddits with a combined total of 1.8 million subscribers, it just sort of happened one day as the moderators above me drifted away. I also originally had a more detailed breakdown of my medical story here, but it boils down to this. I've been nauseous every day for the last 2.5 years, culminating in not quite brain surgery 3 weeks ago. This leads up to Reddit making their third-party API changes clear the day before my birthday while I'm still suffering from splitting headaches from the aforementioned surgery. Fun. Recommended listening, Everybody Wants to Rule the World by Tears for Fears or Pompeii by Bastille. I was planning on writing something here myself, but you should really just go and read. Had a call with Reddit to discuss pricing. Bad news for third-party apps, their announced pricing is close to Twitter's pricing, and Apollo would have to pay Reddit $20 million per year to keep running as is. By you/Iamthetis, the developer of Apollo. You should also read an open letter on the state of affairs regarding the API pricing and third-party apps and how that will impact moderators and communities. By you/BuckRowdy. Recommended listening, Let It Go by Edina Menzel. I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet and I'm too drained to be sure of myself right now anyways, but Reddit killing off you/J Dawson's sync would take a lot of my enthusiasm with it. There's rumbling of other moderators leaving the site or setting subs to private or protected. There's a lot to consider and it's almost 1 AM here. Don't want to use Reddit without a third-party client? Did you favorite subreddit shut down? Well, we're here to help. Recommended listening, Break My Stride by Matthew Wilder. I'll be publishing code on GitHub as Undarkado. I have a Discord library, a self-hosted wallpaper server, a rewrite of Minecraft Plus, and more. The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom is a fantastic game that I've already sunk a ton of time into while I've been recovering from surgery. I've been slowing down on Destiny 2 and Hearthstone, but boy can they suck up time if you let them. Brandon Sanderson's Secret Project books have been fantastic so far. I need to finish the Alcatraz Smidry series, then figure out where to start with his Cosmera books. I'm probably due to revisit and fill in what I missed from Terry Pratchett's Discworld books. My favorite book of his is Night Watch. I completely forgot I'd bought the second book of Brandon Mull's Beyonders trilogy after r/Tipoff Matung helped me find it again. I'm looking forward to Season 2 of Star Trek, Strange New Worlds later this month. Because of You, Steven Sanchez. If You Could Read My Mind by Gordon Lightfoot. Labor, by Paris Paloma. I'll include other moderators' recommendations here as they respond to me. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.